Mom's gonna say, come, they told me, pa-dum-pa-pum-pum. I have no gift to bring, pa-dum-pa-pum-pum. Well, you got a drum there. How about that? That's a pretty good gift. Give him your drum. Give him your Dawai'i gun. And that's our Ojibwe word for today. Dawai'i gun. Drum. No, I'm just kidding. BOOZHOO. Welcome to BOOZHOO Nana BOOZHOO, a podcast where we used to teach Ojibwe language, and now we review books by Michael Lyons. So this week we've been reading Amix Blood, and it's a Christmas story where Santa Claus is the bad guy and the vampires are the good guys. But okay, when we left off, Lilith had saved the day, and she found Amix on the train car, and she tells Amix that their dad is sick. So we're going to pick it up on page 45. Back at Castle Blood, Tina stood by the fireplace and sipped on a cup of hot apple cider. She stared into the flames with a worried expression that only a mother has. It's a long ride to the Elf Academy, she said. Please, my dear, Vladimir said from his bed. Lilith is the most capable young woman I have ever known. She grew up riding in these woods. There are no safer hands to deliver our daughter. Have you ever told her as much, Vladimir? Oh, I'm sure she knows, he replied. I'm not so sure. Vladimir looked sideways at his tiny wife. It was unprecedented for her to discuss Lilith. Tina continued to gaze into the flames. She has always strived to be the best at everything. She acts so fierce, but underneath she is a sad little girl. She has never forgiven me for what happened to her mother, Vladimir said quietly. Tina walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. Vladimir, she began carefully, when will you forgive yourself? Before he could answer, the room filled with a distant "ow" emanating from outside. Tina ran to the window. It's Dr. Fang, she said. Then leaning out, she shouted, Come on up, Doctor. As Tina was about to pull in the wooden shutters, she saw two distinct figures emerge from beneath the snow-crusted pines. Amix and Lilith had finally returned. The girls are here too, Tina cheered. Ah, yes, Vladimir said, smiling. My girls. Amix, riding the elegant and graceful doe, was the first to reach the stoned fence in front of the old castle. Without a moment's hesitation, they easily hopped up and over. A few feet behind her, Lilith and her faithful steed, perhaps a little wearier from the trip, thought differently and galloped around the gate. When everyone was finally together again in one room, Vladimir beamed. Amix pressed his hand against her cheek and smiled into his very soul. He said, I know this is supposed to be a somber affair, the final deathbed speech, I suppose. But having my beautiful family around me fills my heart with such joy. Vladimir, may I interrupt? Dr. Fang said. Ah, yes, and of course my handsome doctor too. No, it's not that, Mr. Blood. I have good news. What is it? Asked Tina. I have consulted with both Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll. Our experiments have concluded that there is a magical agent in elf-made fudge-striped cookies, he replied. What does that have to do with anything, Doctor? Lilith asked, growing impatient. Dr. Fang grinned, flashing gleaming white fangs, and said, This agent in the cookies not only make them very tasty, but when eaten by a vampire on a blood-free diet, it works as a complete supplement. You mean? Tina began as tears of relief wet her eyes. Yes, Dr. Fang continued. I read that weird. Yes, Dr. Fang continued. All you need to do, Vladimir, is to have a few fudge stripe cookies every now and then, and you should be fine. But I don't understand, Tina said. I've made those same cookies for you for years. I have to come clean about something, my beloved, Vladimir said. I have always been close-minded about elf-made food. Whenever you made cookies, I'd just pocket them and toss them out later. You've got to be kidding me, Tina said, smiling. Oh, for crying out loud, Amix said, and ran to the cookie jar in the kitchen. Returning, she held out an authentically made elf-made fudge stripe cookie and presented it to her thin and frail father. He took it into his nearly skeletal hand and considered it for a moment before taking a careful bite. Vladimir's eyes became wide as he paused in mid-chew. This is what cookies taste like, he exclaimed, spewing crumbs all over the place. This is the most wonderful thing I've ever eaten, he said. Immediately, Vladimir started feeling better. Lines faded from his face and hands. His hair returned to black. He stood up from his bed looking 10 years younger as a healthy bluish-white tint returned to his skin. Lifting the sides of his robe like a cape, Vladimir flapped his arms, and all at the same time a bolt of lightning lit up the night sky, and a clap of thunder shook the room, and the tall, handsome vampire transformed into a majestic bat. After flying around the room a few times, he landed on the floor and changed back. Oh, it feels so good to be back, he cheered. Amix was inspired, she said. You know, Dad, I've always been close-minded about vampire food. You mean blood? Vladimir asked. Yeah, Amix replied. Maybe it's finally time I try it. Okay, we're going to stop right there for the day. It looks like Dad's going to be okay. What's his name? Vladimir. Turns out all he needs is a fudge stripe cookie. All right, good enough. I'm not sure, but we might finish this story tomorrow. All right, well, thank you for watching. BOOZHOO, Nana BOOZHOO. And listening to Amix Blood by Michael Lyons. I am Nana BOOZHOO, and I will see you again. Kigawa Bamin, Minawa, Hoa.